Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today, the top 10 celebrities with easy-to-miss illnesses. Celebrities like to project a sanitized image, and so we often don't realize that they suffer from problems that many of us common folk face. And although they have the money and connections to get the best medical treatment possible, they still sometimes struggle to get a proper diagnosis or treatment. The reason for this is that there are some problems that, for whatever reason, doctors just struggle to diagnose properly, even with modern medical science on their side. Number 10. Nick Cannon. The affliction, pulmonary embolism. Several years ago, Nick Cannon, husband of pop star Mariah Carey, had to step down from his radio show and head to the hospital due to complications involving a blood clot. It turns out that he had something many doctors failed to notice, and that many haven't heard of, and it's called a pulmonary embolism. This condition is a blood clot in the lungs that can be extremely deadly, and doctors are often negligent in finding it. Luckily for Nick, the doctor found the problem quickly and prescribed bed rest as part of a regimen in order to help him recover. Number 9. Rick Perry. The affliction, sleep apnea. Rick Perry became well known nationwide when he was running for president, and he came across as a total goofball and a complete bigot. He couldn't remember what government programs he wanted to cut, and some speculated that he was actually drunk. After trying desperately to figure out what was wrong with their candidate, his campaign staff realized that he was hardly sleeping and had the doctors look at him. They found that Rick Perry was suffering from sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is a sleeping disorder that causes abnormal breathing during sleep, which is extremely disruptive to the sleeping cycle. Most people have no idea they even have a problem. They just end up fatigued during the day, and doctors rarely find it unless looking for it specifically. Number 8. John Ritter. The affliction, aortic dissection. John Ritter is well known for being one of the greatest comedians ever, the star of Three's Company, and an actor who was taken from us way too early. He died in his 50s while working due to an aortic dissection. This is something the doctors sadly misdiagnosed as a heart attack. An aortic dissection is caused by a tear in the inner wall of the aorta, allowing blood to flow between the layers, which forces the walls apart and is a very serious medical emergency. Unfortunately, doctors simply miss this one a lot and think that it is a stroke instead. Number 7. Jimmy Kimmel. The affliction, narcolepsy. Jimmy Kimmel is a famous TV comedian, and he stated that he's tried to control his condition in the past by drinking a ridiculous amount of iced tea, but when his doctor found out, he was alarmed at the amount of caffeine that Kimmel was guzzling down and prescribed pills instead. Narcolepsy is a neurological sleep disorder, and many people are not lucky enough, like Kimmel, to get a proper diagnosis. Often, doctors simply diagnose it as insomnia, depression, schizophrenia, or even a thyroid disorder. Number 6. Sinead O'Connor. The affliction, fibromyalgia. Sinead O'Connor is a talented Irish singer-songwriter, also known for being fairly controversial. Among the controversy is the fact that, as a woman, she has been ordained priest, which is considered completely invalid by the Roman Catholic Church. She is admitted to having fibromyalgia, a condition that affects around 5 million adults, mostly women. Fibromyalgia is often characterized by having a foggy memory, all sorts of tender areas on the body, and lots of chronic pain. Unfortunately, this condition also has many other symptoms which often lead to it going undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. Sometimes, with early diagnosis and treatment, people can live fairly normal lives. However, in Sinead's case, it led to a temporary retirement. Number 5. Jennifer Esposito. The affliction, celiac disease. Jennifer Esposito is known for being in movies such as Crash and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, as well as TV shows like Spin City and Blue Bloods. In recent years, she discovered that she had celiac disease and has become an advocate for it. To say that celiac disease is often misdiagnosed is something of an understatement. According to Esposito, the average diagnosis takes about 80 years, and for her, it took 20. Nearly 1 in 150 American people have celiac disease, and it is difficult to diagnose because many of the symptoms can also be caused by other diseases. Those who are afflicted are generally fine if they don't eat gluten, but they often deal with the symptoms for years before realizing they need to cut gluten from their diet. Number 4. Alec Baldwin. The affliction, Lyme disease. Alec Baldwin, the aging star of 30 Rock, who sometimes throws fits on airplanes because he's told to stop playing words with friends, apparently is a chronic sufferer of Lyme disease. He doesn't talk much about the ailment, but he did star in a movie called Lyme Life, possibly to raise awareness about the disease. Lyme disease is caused by bites from certain ticks and is a fairly common problem, with over 150,000 cases since 1982. If the disease isn't caught quickly enough, it can often lead to chronic suffering, but unfortunately, doctors doctors are notoriously bad at finding the disease early, and much more research needs to be done in regard to early detection. Number 3. Oprah Winfrey. The affliction. Hypothyroidism. Oprah Winfrey doesn't really need an introduction. When she isn't giving everyone a car, she's busy being richer than God and more influential than just about anyone in entertainment. On her show, she admitted that she had gone to the doctor after feeling tired and looking ill, and had discovered that she had a serious thyroid problem. This could also be the cause of her sometimes yo-yoing weight, as thyroid issues make it very difficult for people to maintain a stable weight. While hypothyroidism is incredibly common, it is believed that nearly half of the people who are afflicted with this disease don't get proper diagnosis. Part of the reason for a lack of proper diagnosis is that the symptoms often appear over a very long period of time, making early or any detection difficult. Number 2. Justin Timberlake. The affliction, ADD. When Justin Timberlake isn't busy bringing sexy back, he's actually struggling to deal with ADD and OCD at the same time, and has been fairly angsty when talking to people about his disorder. While many people, just like Timberlake, can survive with ADD and perform quite well, it is an often misdiagnosed problem and is easily one of the most overdiagnosed issues that exist. In fact, some experts believe that the incorrect diagnosis of ADD and the ensuing medication can lead to problem behavior in youths. This means that the common misdiagnosis of ADD can actually be quite harmful. Now, Timberlake really does have ADD, but unfortunately many kids diagnosed with it actually don't have the disorder at all. Number 1. Stephen Fry. The affliction, depression. Stephen Fry is one of the funniest men in comedy, delighting us over the years with his performances and generally being an amazing actor with excellent wit and charm. However, he's also been a long-time sufferer of depression and has admitted to being close to attempting suicide. Unfortunately, depression often goes undiagnosed and it can reach a dangerous point. Worse, however, is that depression has become an alarmingly common diagnosis for all kinds of other problems and is often being prescribed to people who do not actually have a chemical imbalance in their brain. Perhaps with better knowledge of this disorder, we can treat people properly and avoid misdiagnosis. So I really hope you enjoyed that video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for brand new videos every day of the week. Also, I've got another channel, it's called Biographics. It's biographies of notable people from the present day, as well as history from Elon Musk to Osama bin Laden. You can check it out through the icon on the screen now. But if you want something else to watch right now, why not check out another TopTenz video or a Biographics video over there on the right. And as always, thank you for watching.